How's it going, everyone? It's Alex. Hope you guys are having a good day. And today we're looking at the Studio Display, which I feel like is the most divided I've seen people regarding an Apple release in a long time. Some people absolutely hate this thing, and then some people absolutely love this thing. I'm sort of in the middle as a spoiler of how I feel about this. And before we can actually cover this, I kind of want to backtrack a couple years to December of 2019, when Apple announced the Pro Display XDR after kind of abandoning the monitor market for quite a long time. They announced that monitor with add-on options like nano texture glass for an additional $1,000 on top of the $5,000 price tag, a VESA mount adapter for $200, and then finally a Pro stand for a whopping $999. And I think this had people questioning the value of what they were getting for their money when it comes to the add-ons, because the stand was $1,000. I think it made a lot of headlines, and people were quite curious on how Apple decided to come up with this amount of money to charge for that. That display was meant to compete against monitors far above even its $5,000 price tag, going into the $10,000 to $30,000 professional monitor industry. And I think a lot of people did find the quality and performance of the panel to be a solid value for their professional needs. Okay, 2 years later, Apple drops the Studio Display at a baseline of $1,600. It comes with your choice of a VESA mount, adapter, or a tilt adjustable stand. And of course, you can opt in for an additional $400 for a height adjustable stand. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the breakdown of pricing. So I've had this since release, and this is probably still the weirdest release we've seen from Apple, like the most divided opinions I've seen regarding a product like this. And let's jump into the first thing. All right, let's talk specs. This is a 5K display using an IPS LCD panel. It's 27 inches, it's 60 hertz, and it's 228 PPI. I have the glossy option, which comes standard, and you can pay for the additional nano texture glass, which basically is an anti-glare reflective coating that's added to the glass for the additional price. There's one Thunderbolt 4 port, 3 USB-C ports, a built-in webcam, and a full aluminum housing with an A13 Bionic chip with 64 gigs of onboard storage, which apparently only 2 gigs are being used, so that would mean only 3% overall utilization of the storage capacity, just used for future software updates. It's a little weird. The back power cable is considered non-removable, but at the same time, you can remove it if you just Thanos yank it. Unlike the 24-inch iMac that came with the removable MagSafe power cable, Apple chose to do this weird non-removable but removable with their special tool that they made just to remove the power cable on this monitor. The design on the monitor looks pretty much exactly like what you'd expect from Apple. It's super minimal. There's not even a power button. It's all machined aluminum with clean ventilation holes at the top. The design also incorporates 6 speakers internally at the bottom with no logo anywhere to be found on the front of the monitor, and the overall design looks really good. It looks really good. It should be able to blend in with most setups without any issues. Now, the specs on paper are not jaw-dropping. Not that Apple has jaw-dropping specs on paper usually, but it's using outdated tech. Let's start off with the first thing. The panel is IPS, not mini LED, which is what Apple has been going with recently, like on the MacBook Pro, the iPad Pro, the new iPhones. So ultimately, black levels are not great. Contrast takes a hit, and not only contrast, but my panel does actually have a bit of that typical IPS backlight bleed, where you'll notice some unevenness in the backlight. I also seem to be not the only one that seems to be seeing this, with some people getting luckier and not having as much on their panels. But overall, it kind of sucks. Having an edge-lit backlight on a $1,600 display seems like something from a couple years ago. Now, the coating on the glossy finish is really good. Obviously not as good as killing reflections like the nano coating, but I would probably skip that coating and go for the glossy finish unless you're sitting in direct sunlight and absolutely cannot move your setup. Because the overall crispiness and vibrancy you get from the glossy finish on a 5K display is stunning. Now, the hot topic is the refresh rate. It's 60 hertz. There is no ProMotion whatsoever. And coming from all these different Apple devices recently, like the iPad Pro, the MacBook Pro, the iPhone Pro, all of them have the ProMotion display, and this doesn't. Obviously, there are limitations to Thunderbolt 4's bandwidth, where 4K 120 is doable, but 5K 120 is not doable, so we have 5K 60. It does feel like a step down in fluidity, where ProMotion just makes everything feel so responsive and snappy, and jumping to this monitor after using a display with ProMotion makes it feel sluggish. The 27-inch size also isn't a coincidence, where I would personally prefer a 32-inch size like on the Pro Display XDR, but 5K at 218 pixels per inch does qualify Retina. If you want to jump to 32 inches, you're going to need that 6K resolution bump like they did on the Pro Display XDR. That's why they did 27 inches, 5K. It also would have been interested for multi-monitor setups if they sold a monitor that didn't have speakers or a webcam, if you wanted to run it, let's say, with 2 monitors and your own webcam and own speakers. But the webcam. Let's talk about the webcam. It's mediocre. It's grainy, it lacks any sort of shadows, it just looks like a bad webcam. I mean, it works, it has center stage and some pretty solid studio mics, but that's it. Now the speakers, on the other hand, sound really good for built-in speakers. Not that they wouldn't get beat out by $100 or $200 standalone speakers. They have the Dolby Atmos simulated experience. They sound good, get plenty loud for general watching videos and stuff. Works good. I like them. Now, have you noticed a trend with what I've been saying recently? There's a lot of weird quirks and features that come with this monitor that seem to be kind of strange, and I know it seems overall kind of negative, but let's talk about the good. Some of the actual really good stuff. The screen is really color accurate out of the box. One of the best I've seen, and it's consistent with all the other Apple displays that I have, so it works great with other Apple products. You see where I'm getting here? It wakes up faster than any other monitor I've used with a Mac. You have full control of the speaker volume, brightness from all within the UI. And it gets really bright. 600 nits is at the level where you can still enjoy HDR content, but it doesn't have the specific specs to make the qualifications for the official HDR certification standards. Again, a little weird. Since this display is primarily aimed at people who work in professional studio environments, the lack of HDR is unfortunate. And the fact that the $400 height adjustable stand can't rotate this monitor 90 degrees, so if you want to do programming, you can't do that, that's another thing that's like kind of ridiculous. It does work perfectly with Mac with no resolution scaling issues due to it being 5K, charges your MacBook at around 95 watts, but there's just too many compromises here for most people. Now, the quality of life and workflow you do get with this monitor beats out any other monitor for Mac, for sure. It's all integrated, it feels seamless, it's designed to work with Mac, looks clean on a desk, and if that reassures you, and if appearance and quality of life can drive you to be more productive and excel in whatever you need to do, then this might be up your alley. I'm sure you've heard this before. There are other monitors out there like LG's 5K monitor, the Eve Spectrum, the Huawei Mate View, the Dell U2720Q, Samsung's making one now, but nothing really performs as good with Macs as this monitor in this price range. Sure, if I could make the perfect monitor, it would be something like this, 27, maybe 32 inches, you get the great resolution, 5K, 120 hertz would be absolutely perfect with all the little Apple goodies thrown in. If we didn't have any bandwidth limitations, and if it was still the same price, I think a lot more people would justify spending money on something like this. But there's just a lot of compromises that you have to keep in mind. It has stunning image quality, but comparing the specs, it seems like poor value. Obviously, Apple can be difficult to compare to other products because specs don't tell the whole story, like how well this seamlessly integrates with someone's other Apple products or the best-in-class build quality you get compared to other plastic monitors. The stand situation is also not good. Charging $400 for just height adjustment with no rotate functionality is ridiculous. And ultimately, the monitor's value is subjective to you and whatever workflows and your needs specifically. I think the monitor is good, but I personally find it too expensive for the display you're actually getting. You can literally get a 24-inch iMac with a 4.5K screen for $1,300. And Apple's recently released products like the M1 Max deliver a package with very few compromises at an affordable price. So this monitor has been a weird release. Some people will find value in the whole Apple quality workflow. I don't think it's a great value, especially considering the price, but that's just my overall opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Drop your comments down below whether you think this is a good value or you'll be picking one up. Thank you guys for watching again. Catch you guys in the next one.